In this video, we're going to answer the question front squat or back squat. Which one belongs in your program? And we're not going to be giving you a one-size-fits-all answer, but instead, we're going to help you ask and answer this question. What is your current limiter and which one of these variations best addresses it? Once you can ask this type of question and answer it, you're no longer going to be choosing based on arbitrary rules, but instead matching it to what exactly your body needs in whatever training phase you're in. So without further ado, let's go ahead and jump right in. All right, so first things first, let's compare and contrast the front squat and back squat on a very simple level. So whenever we're looking at an exercise variation, where we apply the load is going to influence where the center of mass goes. And then we're going to often see the body then compensating or adjusting to keep us in balance. So in the front squat, we have the bar on the front, which then pulls the overall center of mass forward. We then compensate against that to stay in balance by shifting back. Now in the back squat, you're going to see just the opposite. We have the bar on the back, which overall is going to initially pull us backwards, and then we pull forwards against that in order to stay in balance. And this pulling against where the weight is pulling us is what then produces the positions of the body in space that we're going to see in each variation. So in the front squat, because we shift back, we're going to see a very upright position of the torso, and the bar overall ends up being really far back relative to the knee. So in the front squat, we have the upright torso, and we have more work on the quad muscles and the front core muscles. Now in the back squat, we have to go forward with the torso, which brings us into that hinged position. And now the bar ends up being further away from the hips instead of directly over the hips. And this causes the work to focus itself more in the lower back, hips, and hamstrings as compared to what it does in the front squat. So to review there, we have a little bit more of an upright position in the front squat. We're further away from the knee, which creates more torque on the quad muscles. And in the back squat, we're a little bit further away from the hips because of that hinged position, which puts more work towards the hips and lower back and hamstrings. Now, with that said, once we understand how these variations distribute stress, we can then ask, what's our limiter? And based on what we know about the exercise, what's the best fit for this current program? Now, to make this really, really simple, we have three categories of limiters. Those categories are tolerance, capacity, and coordination. Now, we'll go over each of these really briefly, and then we're going to dive into an example for each and talk about which variation would best fit it. So when we're talking about tolerance, we mean the ability to feel sensation during the exercise. And a limiter here is going to be when we have pain or we have apprehension that stops us from moving the way we want. Now, moving on to capacity, this is our ability to do work relative to the demands of the task. So if we are weak because we can't produce force, or we get tired early because we don't have enough endurance, that's going to be a limiter in capacity. Now, last but not least, we have coordination, and this relates to skill and movement efficiency. So there's a right and a wrong way to do an exercise relative to the most possible efficient technique. In a squat, that's going to look like a good rhythm of bending at the knee, hip, and ankle, and then a good rhythm of straightening at the knee, hip, and the ankle on the way up. So if we have a limiter in coordination, it's more related to how we are doing the exercise rather than pain or strength or endurance. Now, with that said, let's go over some very common examples and what we would select in terms of front versus back squat in each scenario. All right, so starting off with tolerance here, a really common issue that people have is lower back pain. Now, as we said earlier, the front squat is going to position the bar directly over the hips and further away from the knees. This means the overall work on the back is going to be lower compared to the amount of work that we get on the front. So if we have back discomfort in general due to sensitivity of loading the back, then doing something like a front squat is often a lot better than doing something like a back squat. Now, with that said, this assumes that loading is the issue and not some specific position. What we also want to check for in this case, if we have back discomfort, is to see if it's a load issue or if it is related to more of the position of the spine. So if we look at the front squat versus the back squat, the muscles that work are going to be a little bit different in both in terms of a ratio. So if we front squat, we're going to shift our center of mass back, which means at the bottom of the movement, we're going to be more likely to tuck the hips under and get a little bit of rounding in the lower back. In the back squat, because we're going into that hinged position, we're going to fire up those low back muscles and tend to keep the back a little bit more arched. So if we're that person who's sensitive with back rounding, then actually a back squat might be a better choice. If we're that person who's a little bit more sensitive with arching, then the front squat might be a better choice. So here we've got 3 questions to ask. Is it load sensitivity? Is it rounding sensitivity? Or is it arching sensitivity? And then we fit the variation based on the answer to those questions. Now that's only one example here, but we could apply a very similar logic to any other area of the body. So for example, if you had knee pain, we know that the front squat is going to work the knees a little bit harder than the back squat because we're going to shift the demands toward the quad muscles. Now, if that pain is generated because we have too much work in the quads, then a back squat is going to be a better choice. However, if the pain is due to the way that we're organizing ourselves in space, let's say we're moving our center of mass too far forward, then something like a back squat that actually forces us to shift the center of mass backwards might end up being a better choice. So as you can see, there's a little bit of nuance here, but we want to at least ask the question as to what is holding us back, so then we can develop further questions from that to make a better decision about which one to do. All right, now with that said, if we don't have a tolerance limiter, we don't have pain or apprehension holding us back, it might be that we lack capacity. So the question to ask is, am I strong enough and do I have enough endurance? And we can look at this both on a global level, so overall, or we can look at this on a local level, so a very specific region of the body. And this is where I find that back squat and front squat are different in their utility. So if we have overall weakness of the body, we want to choose the variation that allows us to load the body to the greatest extent. And in this case, it's going to likely be the back squat. The racking on the back is going to usually allow us to do more overall weight, and we're going to shift weight more equally between the knee and the hip. The front squat, on the other hand, is going to be harder to load overall because a lot of that effort concentrates it a lot more in the quads. Now, on the flip side, if I had weakness or lack of endurance specifically in the quads, then doing something like a front squat would actually constrain me into using those muscles more than the hips. And so if I had to choose a better one in that scenario, then I would choose the front squat. So big picture here, there's not a right and a wrong, but you want to ask, if the issue is capacity, is this in a specific region? If it's overall, you choose the variation that's most easily loadable. And if it's local, you choose the variation that works those muscles that are specifically weak or fatigue early. All right, so now with that said, if you didn't have pain or apprehension holding you back, and there wasn't weakness or lack of endurance, then the issue might be skill related. So the question here is, can I do this movement properly relative to the reference standard? So if we're looking at a squat, we want a nice, easy, coordinated rhythm of bending the knee, the hip, and the ankle on the way down. And then we want that rhythm to be somewhat equal on the way up as well. Now, when we look at the front squat, because of where the bar is, we have to keep that upright position in the torso. And so to do this, usually we're going to bend the knees a little bit earlier and sit straight down on the way down. And then we're going to delay how much the knees straighten on the way up. So you'll see the torso go straight up and the knees straighten a little bit later. Now in the back squat, we see just the opposite. Because we're in that hinged position, oftentimes we'll hinge back with the butt at first, and then we'll bend the knees a little bit later on the way down. And then on the way up, a lot of times you'll see the hips shoot back and up, which then shifts even more demands to the hips, and then we'll straighten the hips after already straightening the knees. Now in terms of the most scalable, best technique, if technique matters over the long term, usually the front squat does a better job. So if you're someone who's going to be doing some Olympic weightlifting, or you really need to develop the squat pattern to a high level of precision, then adding in that front squat is going to be super, super useful. However, if you're using this more just to get stronger, and it doesn't matter that you have a perfect squat, then a back squat is just as good of a choice. And in some cases, if you're that person who has a little bit of a decreased ability to bend at the hips on the way down, you might actually choose a back squat to work on initiating a hinge through the hips as you're going down into the squat. So again, it just depends, is coordination the limiter? And if it is, what segments are out of timing? If we're not getting enough knee bend on the way down, or we're getting early knee straightening on the way up, then choose a front squat. If we're not getting enough hip bending on the way down, then choose a back squat. All right, so by this point in the video, you should understand the differences between front and back squat and the key questions to ask to identify your limiter. To actually be able to make progress on this, you've got one step left, and that is to identify the key variable that needs to improve in order for you to actually make progress within that limiter. This is something I'm going to be talking about in a lot more depth in upcoming videos. So if you're interested in these, definitely let me know in the comments. The first is I'm going to be reopening my Applied Biomechanics mentorship, where we talk about these concepts in depth and we focus on the specific applications. So if you're a professional and you really want to dive deeper, make sure to go down to the link in the description and get on the wait list for that. Now, if you're trying to DIY it, I'm also playing with the idea of coming out with a step-by-step DIY level guide to being able to identify your limiters, select exercises, and be able to use constraints to progress these week to week. If I get enough interest with this, I'll be reaching out via email with some more information, and we'll go ahead and make that product to help you do that on your own. All right, so with all that said, thank you for watching this video. Let me know any opinions, questions, or comments that you have down below in the comments section. And as always, thanks a lot for watching. We'll see you next time. Peace.